Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. 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 Holiday.
Pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Prosecutors said he poured gas on Savannah Bailey last February and ignited it.
Two little girls, one 4 years old, one still in diapers, left outside, in the snow, in sub-zero temperatures, while their mother burned alive inside the apartment. And the man who did it? Their own father. Now listen, people talk about domestic violence like it is always something you can see coming from a mile away, like there are always sirens going off and red flags waving in your face from day one. But the truth is, most women who end up in these situations did not walk into them knowing what was on the other side. They walked in thinking they found love, thinking this was their person, thinking whatever problems they had, they could work through it together. Savannah Bailey thought the same thing. She was a young mother, 23 years old, 2 daughters she loved more than anything in this world, and a relationship that, from the outside, probably looked like a lot of relationships do. Complicated, imperfect, but workable. She had no idea that the man sharing her bed was capable of what he was about to do to her. Not just to her, in front of her children. On Valentine's Day. This is her story. And I need you to stay with me, because every single detail of what happened that night matters. Savannah and Javante Jefferson met around 2014 on a dating app called Plenty of Fish. She was young. He was a few years older. And the way these things usually go, the beginning was probably fine. Maybe even good. The kind of beginning that makes you think you found something real. They were together for years. They built a life together. Or at least what looked like one from the outside. They had 2 daughters, Serenity, who was 4 at the time of this story, and Samaya, who was barely a year old, still in diapers. 2 little girls who called this man daddy. 2 little girls who trusted him completely. But inside that apartment on the 1,500 block of North 8th Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, things were not what they appeared. Savannah would later describe years of verbal abuse. Jefferson had a pattern. He would say things that cut deep, treat her in ways no woman should be treated. And then when the dust settled, he would come back around with apologies. And she would stay. Not because she was weak. Let me be clear about that. But because that is exactly how these cycles work. The person doing the harm makes you feel like you are the problem. Makes you feel like if you just do a little better, try a little harder, love him a little more, things will change. They never change. Not on their own. And Jefferson was not the kind of man who was going to change. There was at least one documented physical incident before the night everything exploded. He had put his hands on her before. But Savannah stayed. She had 2 children with this man. She was trying to hold things together for her girls. That is not weakness. That is a mother doing what she thinks is best with the information and the options she has in that moment. But Jefferson was not grateful for any of it. He was controlling. He monitored what she spent. He had opinions about every dollar that left that household. Opinions that came with weight and with consequence. And that Valentine's Day night, those opinions became a death sentence. Or at least, that was what he intended. Now, let me set the scene for you, because the details here are important. It is February 14th, Valentine's Day, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it is cold. We are not talking about regular winter cold. We are talking about temperatures that had dropped below 0, with a wind chill that made it feel even worse than that. The kind of cold where you do not go outside without layers. The kind of cold that can hurt you. Savannah had gotten her hair done that day. Her mother paid for it. She was getting ready for Valentine's Day, a planned date with Jefferson. She was doing what women do when they are trying to keep a relationship alive. She was putting in effort. She was showing up. Jefferson did not see it that way. The argument started over money. Jefferson was upset, furious actually, about Savannah getting her hair done when, in his mind, there were more important financial things to handle. He brought up unpaid taxes. He brought up what he called buying other stuff. This was not a new argument. This was a version of a fight they had probably had before, because controlling people always come back to money. Money is power, and Jefferson needed to feel like he had power over Savannah. What is important to understand is that the money was not even the real issue. The real issue was control. The real issue was that Savannah had done something, even something as small and harmless as getting her hair done, without his full approval. And for a man like Jefferson, that was a problem. The argument happened that evening. Text messages were still going back and forth around 1 a.m. Think about that for a second. 1 a.m. These two people are in the same apartment, and they are still going back and forth. The tension in that place must have been thick. And then, Savannah went to bed. Maybe she thought the worst of it was over. Maybe she was exhausted from the argument and just needed to close her eyes. Maybe she believed that by morning things would look different. Whatever she thought, she went to sleep. Her daughters were already asleep. The apartment was quiet, and Javante Jefferson was still awake, still angry, still thinking. And what he was thinking about was not how to fix the relationship. It was not how to apologize. It was not how to be better. He was thinking about how to end her. Now here is where I need you to really sit with this, because this was not a spontaneous moment of rage. This man had to go find gasoline. He had to get it into that apartment. He had to make a decision with full clarity that he was going to walk into the bedroom where the mother of his children was sleeping and pour it on her. That is not a crime of passion. That is a plan. It was somewhere around 3:30 in the morning when Jefferson walked into that bedroom. Savannah was asleep. The apartment was dark, and he stood over her, and he poured gasoline across her body. She did not wake up immediately. She was asleep. She had no idea what was happening until he struck a match and he threw it. The flames did not take a moment to think about it. They went up immediately. Savannah went from dead asleep to on fire in a matter of seconds. She woke up screaming. Her body was burning. The bed was burning. Everything was burning. And Jefferson, according to Savannah herself, stood there and watched, not in a panic, not in shock, with a look on his face that she described as dead, empty, like he had already decided what this was going to be, and he was just watching it play out. Savannah ran. That is the only thing a person can do when their body is on fire. They run. She was screaming. She was on fire. She was running through that apartment, trying to find a way out, trying to find anything. Water, a door, something. And those little girls, Serenity and Samaya, they woke up, 4 years old and 1 year old, and they saw their mother burning alive right in front of them. Let me just pause there for a second. Those babies saw that image, whatever they understood of it at their ages, that went into them. That is the kind of thing that does not leave a child, ever. Jefferson did not stop to comfort them. He did not call 911. He did not try to help Savannah. What he did was grab those girls, still in their diapers, no shoes on their feet, no coats on their little bodies, and he took them outside, into the sub-zero cold, and he left them there. Then he went back inside, pushed a sofa in front of the front door so Savannah could not get out that way, and he walked out the back, got in his car, and drove away. He left a woman on fire and 2 babies in the snow, and he just drove away. Savannah made it out the back of the apartment. She got outside and she did the only thing that made any sense. She threw herself into the snow and she rolled. She was trying to put herself out. Think about what that takes. Think about the level of will that requires. Your body is burning. You are in unimaginable pain. It is below zero outside, and you are rolling in the snow trying to save your own life because nobody else is going to do it. Neighbors heard her screaming. One of them came outside and saw her, on fire, or just coming off the fire, trying to put herself out in the snow. Another neighbor saw Jefferson loading a bag into his car before he pulled off. Someone wrapped those little girls up, those babies standing outside in the cold in their diapers, and called 911.
So pretty.
By the time firefighters got there,
So pretty.
the apartment was burning. The fire had started on the bedroom mattress, exactly where Jefferson had poured the gasoline and lit the match. And Savannah was alive. Barely, but alive. She had third-degree burns covering approximately 60% of her body. 60%. Her head, her face, her back, her hips. The places that take the longest to heal. The places that scar the deepest. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, fighting for her life. And Jefferson was already gone. Now, while Savannah was being rushed to the hospital, burns covering 60% of her body, airways damaged, barely holding on. Javante Jefferson was not sitting somewhere feeling remorse. He was not turning himself in. He was not calling to check if she was alive. What he was doing was driving
You deserve better.
5
You
miles
never go
away
back.
from that apartment. Away from those 2
Love
little
you
girls
inside
he had
out.
left shivering in
Got
the
to love yourself
snow.
before you can love anybody else.
Away from the woman he had just set on fire.
So I ask
And
you,
at some
so
point
I
that
ask you if you are
morning,
dating.
he
They
ended up
love
in an
themselves. If
alley.
they don't love themselves,
And
they
here's
can't
where
love
the
you.
story takes a turn that, honestly, you cannot make up.
If you don't
Surveillance
love yourself,
cameras
you
caught
cannot
the
love
whole
this.
thing.
It's just
Jefferson reached into a bag he had
I
brought
don't have
with
to
him.
love you.
He
I
pulled
learned
out
how
a
to love me.
.40
I love you
caliber
from the top of my head
handgun.
to the bottom of my feet.
Then he pointed that gun at himself.
I am here.
He
because
shot toward
I'm
his
able
stomach,
to.
his
I'm
left
not
arm,
scared to be alone
his head,
anymore. I'm not afraid to
multiple
be alone.
times. He stood there in that
When I
alley
left, I
hunched
chose
over
my
in
peace. I
pain,
didn't choose another man. I chose my
stumbling.
peace.
for about
I
12
asked God
minutes.
for peace, and it's what God
12
gave me.
minutes of walking around in an alley after
Learn to
shooting
love
himself.
you.
And then he walked to St. Francis Hospital and checked himself in. Now, let me
They
make
go
sure you are
coward.
hearing this
Sit up there
clearly.
and shoot, shot
This
his dang
man
or
set a
something.
woman on
To act like
fire,
to
left
act
his
like
infant children outside in
to
below
act like
zero
somebody shot and
temperatures,
hit shot his
drove
wife
5
and shot his
miles
kid.
away,
He
shot
put his
himself
kid in the
multiple
snow and shot his
times,
wife. Knowing
and
dang
then
on
walked into a
well
hospital looking
he
for
did this
help.
shit again, so he's gonna sit up there and shoot
The
himself
wounds
out
he
like somebody
checked in
sit
with,
up there and did all that.
a
Make
graze to the
somebody else
head,
set his wife on fire.
a
Like
gunshot
he
to
ain't
his
do it.
elbow,
A coward ass way out.
not
You're gonna
life-threatening,
sit there and shoot yourself, take a
not
coward
even
way out.
close to what he
That's
had done to
crazy.
Savannah.
And you still
Police
ain't gonna
followed
get
the
the rest of
blood
your
trail
damn
he
life.
left behind and recovered the handgun right there in
Crazy.
the alley.
Dumb.
That gun did not disappear. That evidence did not go
Trying to
anywhere.
make it seem like he ain't really wrong.
Jefferson had
What's the
left
worst?
a
That's why the hell he
trail,
shot himself.
literally,
Trying to give himself a damn
straight
alibi.
back to
It's
himself.
crazy damn hell.
Report we found today, police say Javante Jefferson walked into the hospital with a gunshot wound to his arm and a grazed wound on his head. Investigators followed the trail of blood to an alley where they found a gun and a surveillance camera which saw everything unfold. It happens in seconds. A man walks into frame, grabs a gun from a bag, tosses that bag, then shoots himself multiple times. Almost instantly, a truck passes by, its driver seemingly unaware of what just happened as the man stumbles to get up from the snow-covered ground. But for the next 12 minutes, the man stays in the alley, at times hunched over, before finally standing upright and walking slowly out of the camera's view.
That's ridiculous.
But here is the part that really tells you everything you need to know about this man's state of mind
Evil as
that
hell.
morning. While all of this was happening, while Savannah was fighting for her life, while his daughters were being wrapped up by strangers in the cold, Jefferson sent Savannah a text message, an accusatory one, like she had done something to him. And then, and I need you to
It's
really
just
absorb
technicality
this,
for what the hell he did.
he
He
took a
like he did
screenshot of
something,
that
knowing damn
text
well
and
he
posted
did
it
something
to
to her.
Facebook.
That's crazy.
Facebook. He posted it publicly, like he wanted people to see it, like he was trying to tell his side of the story before anyone else could tell the truth. That post is part of what helped police locate him so quickly. He basically handed them a map, and it did not stop there. At some point that morning, Jefferson got on the phone with his mother, and on that call, overheard by his 8-year-old brother who was right there in the room, Jefferson told his mother that he had killed Savannah. He told her why. He said it was because she would not pay her taxes and was buying other stuff. That was his reason.
You set her on
That
fire
was what
because
he
some damn
offered as
taxes.
justification for
taxes
setting
that
the
she
woman on
deserved.
fire.
You
She
felt
would
like
not
she
pay
deserved to
her
get set on fire
taxes.
over some damn taxes.
She got her
deserved
hair
to get set
done.
on fire over damn
That was
taxes.
it.
Over their damn taxes.
His 8-year-old brother
That's
heard all of
crazy.
this. A child, processing the information that his older brother had just killed someone, and was saying it out loud, casually, like it was something that made sense. It
Evil
did
ass.
not make sense. None of it made sense. Because this was never about money. It was never about taxes or hair appointments or what she was spending. That was just the surface. What it was really about was that Jefferson could not control her completely.
Correct.
And when he felt like he was losing that control, even over something as small as how she wore her hair for a holiday, he decided that if he could not have full power over her life, he would end it. That is the truth of what happened in that apartment. And by the time police pieced it all together, the surveillance footage, the blood trail, the gun, the Facebook post, the phone call, Jefferson had nowhere to go. He was already in the hospital. They had him.
Bailey is now caring for her two granddaughters, 4-year-old Serenity and 1-year-old Samaya, while her daughter Savannah lies sedated in a hospital bed, burned beyond recognition.
He left her to die. He really did.
Bailey says police showed up at her door with the kids early Friday morning. They told her the children's father put the kids outside in negative 19-degree wind chill, then doused Savannah in gasoline and lit her on fire.
The baby didn't have no clothes on, no shoes, and Serenity just had that on and no shoes on.
The flames on Savannah partially lit the home on fire near 8th and Cherry Streets. She ran outside and put herself out in a snowbank.
I said, Serenity, who burnt the house up? Who did you say burnt the house up?
Serenity told police what happened. They arrested her
That's
father
okay,
soon
go shame, my
after.
God.
Savannah's sister went to see her in the hospital and says she'll need to stay there for 2 to 3 months.
I lost her words. Like, she doesn't even look like herself, but I know that's my sister.
They say the man who burned Savannah has always been abusive, jealous of her working towards a better life.
The message was based off of her getting her hair done, and I feel like this is why he did that, because she moved on and she found somebody new. How my daughter is suffering, I want him to suffer. He should have been out their life a long time ago.
Now, I want to take a moment here,
Oh, he got mad because she
because
moved on.
this part of the story
She
is
talked
just
about
as
it,
important as the crime itself.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe more important. Savannah Bailey survived, and I do not use the word miraculous lightly, but there is genuinely no other word for it. 60% of her body covered in 3rd-degree burns. Her airways, the passages that carry air into her lungs, were so severely damaged from the smoke and the heat that she permanently lost her voice. Let that land. She cannot speak. Not the way she used to. The fire that Jefferson set took her voice from her. Permanently. She will never get that back. She was placed in a medically induced coma for months. Her body was so traumatized that doctors had to essentially put her to sleep so it could try to survive. She underwent more than 15 surgeries, skin grafts, where doctors take skin from one part of your body and try to rebuild the parts that were
And
destroyed.
she's still beautiful.
15 times. 15 separate procedures on a body that had already been through the worst thing a human body can go through. Her face changed. Her body changed. The scars from burns that severed do not fade the way a regular scar does. They are permanent. They are visible. Every single day, Savannah looks in the mirror and sees what that man did to her. She was in the hospital for 8 months. 8 months away from her daughters. 8 months of surgeries and rehabilitation and pain. 8 months of fighting just to stay alive. while Jefferson sat in a hospital bed recovering from self-inflicted wounds that were not even life-threatening. When she was finally discharged, she went to live with her mother because she could not work the way she used to, because her body had been through so much that she needed care herself. Her mother became her caregiver, while also helping raise Serenity and Samaya. Think about what that household looked like. A grandmother holding everything together. A mother healing from something almost no one survives. And two little girls, 4 years old and barely a year old when it happened, trying to make sense of a world that had just shown them something no child should ever see. Serenity was 4, old enough to remember, old enough to have an image in her mind that she will carry with her for the rest of her life. Her mother, on fire, running through their home. That does not go away. Savannah knew that, and from what she has shared publicly, that knowledge, the impact on her girls, was one of the things that kept her fighting, not just to survive, but to recover, to be present, to be their mother on the other side of all of it. Because Jefferson had tried to take everything from her life, her voice, her body, her children's sense of safety. And Savannah, with burns covering 60% of her body, with no voice, with a face and a body that would never look the same, decided that he was not going to take the rest. She stayed. She fought. She came back. And that is the part of this story that Jefferson never planned for. He thought she was dead. He said so himself. On the phone with his mother that morning, he said he had killed her. He drove away from that apartment believing he had ended her. He was wrong. And now he had to face her. Jefferson was charged with multiple felonies: attempted first-degree intentional homicide, arson of a building, first-degree reckless injury, and multiple counts of recklessly endangering safety for what he did to those children and to Savannah. When he made his first court appearance, he walked in wearing a safety smock, the kind they put on people who are considered a risk to themselves. His arm was bandaged. The wounds on his head were visible. Bond was set at $500,000. He eventually pleaded guilty. In March of 2021, Javante Jefferson stood before a judge and was sentenced to 50 years, 35 years of initial confinement, followed by 15 years of extended supervision.
State of Wisconsin versus Javante Jefferson.
28-year-old Javante Jefferson of Milwaukee walked into court Tuesday facing more than 160 years behind bars if convicted of setting his girlfriend on fire on Valentine's Day.
This was very violent, dangerous behavior.
Jefferson came in with his left arm completely bandaged. He's accused of pouring gas on 23-year-old Savannah Bailey and leaving their 2 little girls, a 1-year-old baby and a 4-year-old, outside in sub-zero temperatures on Valentine's Day while their mother burned. 12 News spoke to the victim's mother last Friday.
I said, Serenity, who burnt the house up? Who did you say burnt the house up?
My dad.
According to the criminal complaint, Savannah Bailey told officers she woke up in her apartment on 8th and Cherry and Jefferson, quote, just got to pouring gasoline on me. A neighbor told police she heard a female screaming, watched Jefferson drive off, and then saw Bailey running out of the rear of the building, and she appeared to be on fire and ran back and forth and eventually rolled on the snow to extinguish the flames. Bailey suffered burns over 60% of her body.
This was a very deliberate act that caused extreme harm and physical impairment and disfigurement to the alleged victim in this case.
Terry, does the complaint say anything about Jefferson's motive in setting his girlfriend on fire?
Joyce, according to the criminal complaint, Jefferson's 8-year-old brother overheard him say he killed his girlfriend because she wouldn't pay her taxes and was buying other stuff. She, of course, survived the attack but did suffer life-threatening injuries, Joyce.
Taken to Columbia St. Mary's right afterward. Terry Sater reporting live.
50 years for what he did to Savannah, for what he did to those girls, for what he did to that family. At sentencing, he offered an apology. Savannah, and everyone who loves her, did not buy it. Not for 1 second. Because you do not pour gasoline on a sleeping woman and light a match and then offer an apology in a courtroom and call it accountability. That is not remorse. That is a man who got caught, who pleaded guilty because the evidence left him no other option, and who said what he thought he was supposed to say when the cameras were on and the judge was watching. Savannah had prepared a victim impact statement. Her words, even without her voice, were going to be heard in that courtroom. And they were. 50 years. That is what it cost him. Here is something that does not get talked about enough when we cover stories like this one. We spend a lot of time, rightfully so, on what happened, on the crime, on the details, on the man who did it, and the sentence he received. And all of that matters. Every single detail matters. But what also matters, what deserves just as much space in this conversation, is what comes after. Because Savannah Bailey did not die on that bedroom floor. She did not die rolling in the snow. She did not die in that hospital bed during any one of those 15 surgeries. She survived. And survival, real survival, the kind that requires you to rebuild yourself from almost nothing, is its own story entirely. Savannah has spoken publicly about what her life looks like now, and she has been honest about it in a way that takes real courage, because it would be easy to only tell the triumphant part, the part where she made it, the part where Jefferson got 50 years and she got to walk out of that courtroom. But Savannah has also talked about the hard parts, the permanent parts, the parts that did not get better just because the trial was over. Every Valentine's Day is a reminder, not of love, not of romance, of fire, of gasoline, of waking up in flames in the middle of the night, of her daughters standing outside in the snow in their diapers while their home burned. She said it herself. Every Valentine's Day will be a horrible reminder, and that is not something a sentence of 50 years erases. Jefferson being behind bars does not give Savannah her voice back. It does not undo the surgeries. It does not remove the scars from her face or her body. It does not reach back into her daughter's memories and pull out what they saw that night. The justice system did what it could. 50 years is significant. 35 years before he even has a conversation about getting out. Jefferson will be an old man before he breathes free air again, if he ever does. And for a lot of people following this case, that felt like the right outcome. It felt like accountability, even if it could never be called even. Because nothing is even after something like this. Nothing balances the scale when a woman loses her voice permanently. When two little girls grow up carrying the memory of watching their mother burn. When a grandmother has to become a full-time caregiver because her daughter's body was destroyed by the man she trusted. Nothing makes that even. What Savannah chose to do with her survival, and it was a choice, because she could have stayed silent and no one would have blamed her, was to use it. She started speaking out, talking publicly about what happened to her, about the relationship, about the signs that were there before that night that she did not have the full picture to act on, about the way abuse works, slowly, quietly, building over time in ways that can be hard to name until you are deep inside it. And she has been direct about one thing in particular. She tells women, get out. Do not wait. Do not give it one more chance. Do not convince yourself that it will get better on its own, or that the person you fell in love with at the beginning is still in there, somewhere waiting to come back. Savannah loved Javante Jefferson. She had his children. She tried to make it work for years, and he poured gasoline on her while she slept. The version of him she fell in love with on that dating app in 2014, that man if he ever truly existed the way she believed,
Welcome.
was gone long before that Valentine's Day morning.
Correct.
What was left was someone who was willing to end her over a hair appointment. Someone who could watch her burn with a dead look in his eyes. Someone who could walk outside with his daughters in their diapers and leave them in sub-zero temperatures and feel nothing. That is who he was. And Savannah survived him. Now let me talk about those girls for a second, because they deserve to be seen in this story too. Serenity and Samaya, 4 years old and 1 year old when their father did this. They did not ask for any of it. They did not choose their father. They did not choose to be in that apartment that night. They did not choose to be carried outside in the cold while their mother screamed inside a burning building. They just existed, the way children do, trusting the adults around them to keep them safe. And one of those adults, the one who was supposed to protect them above everything else, used them as part of his cruelty. He did not just attack Savannah, he weaponized those children. He took them outside not because he cared about their safety. If he cared about their safety, he would have called for help. He would have gotten Savannah out. He would not have blocked the front door with a sofa. He took them outside and left them there because it was one more thing he could do to hurt their mother. One more way to make sure she had nothing, except she had everything that mattered. She had those girls. And when she came out of that hospital 8 months later, scarred, voiceless, changed forever, she came out still their mother, still present, still fighting. And from everything Savannah has shared, those daughters have become her reason, the thing she holds on to, the thing that made every surgery worth it, and every painful day of recovery something she pushed through instead of giving up on. Jefferson thought he was taking everything from her. What he actually did was show her, and those girls, exactly how strong she was. There is a pattern in stories like this one that I need to name out loud. Because if we do not name it, we are going to keep watching it happen. Abusive relationships rarely start with fire and gasoline. They start with comments, with control dressed up as concern, with a partner who has opinions about how you spend your money, who you spend your time with, how you wear your hair, what you do with your own body. It starts small enough that it is easy to explain away, easy to call a bad day, a rough patch, just how he is sometimes. And then it escalates. Not always to what happened to Savannah, because what happened to Savannah is extreme even by the standards of domestic violence cases. But the road that leads to extreme almost always starts on that same quiet street. The controlling comments, the financial manipulation, the cycle of explosive behavior followed by apologies that feel genuine enough to make you stay one more time. Jefferson had been verbally abusive for years before that night. There had already been a physical incident. There were arguments about money that were really arguments about power. There were signs. And Savannah, like so many women in similar situations, was doing the best she could with what she had, in a relationship she had built her life around, with 2 children who shared a father with this man. This is not about blaming Savannah, not even slightly. This is about understanding the reality that leaving an abusive relationship is not as simple as people on the outside make it sound. It is complicated. It is financial. It is emotional. It involves children and shared lives and the very real fear of what happens if you try to leave. And it goes wrong. Sometimes it goes wrong even when you stay. For Savannah, it went wrong while she was asleep. So if you are watching this and something in this story feels familiar, not the fire, maybe, but the control, the financial arguments, the apologies that never quite fix what they are supposed to fix, please take that seriously. Please talk to someone. Please do not wait for it to reach a point where you are rolling in the snow trying to save your own life. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE. It is confidential. It is available 24 hours a day. And reaching out to it is not a dramatic step. It is just information. It is just making sure you know what your options are before you need them urgently. Savannah Bailey is alive today. She is raising her daughters. She is speaking out. She is present in a way that Shavante Jefferson, sitting in a Wisconsin prison cell, looking at 35 years of confinement before he sees the outside world again, will never be. She won. Not in the way anyone would choose to win. Not in a way that came without devastating cost. But she is here. Her daughters have their mother. And the man who tried to take that from them, the man who drove away from that burning apartment believing he had ended her, is gone. He will be an old man before he breathes free air again. And Savannah Bailey woke up this morning. That is the ending that matters.
Correct.
Thank you for watching Crime Pocket TV. If this story moved you, share it. Because stories like Savannah's deserve to be heard. And somebody watching might need to hear it today. Subscribe, leave a comment, and we will see you in the next one.
That's why I told you to share her story.